What's happening, guys? Victor here with yet another brand new video for today. I gotta go over another blockbuster matchup that was announced this week. This will be the return of Max Blessed Holloway, the number 1 ranked featherweight in the world, versus the number 3 ranked featherweight in the world, Mexico's best hope of winning another MMA championship. Someone that was born and raised in Mexico. Obviously, we did have Cain Velasquez, but he was born and raised here in America. He's full Mexican, both of his parents, but someone who was born and raised in Mexico, who is Mexico's best hope of winning a championship, another championship. We also had Henry Cejudo, but he was also born here in the U.S. But yes, Yair Rodriguez, the number 3 ranked featherweight in the world. Yair Rodriguez is officially back. He will be facing Max Blessed Holloway's 22-6, 10 KOs. He is 2-3 in his last 5 fights, losing to the best of the best, former interim UFC lightweight champion of the world, Dustin Poirier, and the current UFC featherweight champion of the world, Alexander Volkanovski. A lot of controversy from that last fight that he had with Max Holloway. He got dropped against Max 3 times, but he still won the fight via decision. So Max had to basically pull himself up by the bootstraps in the name of Michael Chandler, since he likes to use that. He likes to use that phrase a lot. Pull yourself back up from the bootstraps and get back to work. That's basically what Max Holloway did. His last performance was in January this year, UFC on ABC 1 against Calvin Kattar, a 5-round manslaughter. It was a 5-round manslaughter from the beginning of the bell all the way to the end, non-stop energy, basically the velocity, the strikes, the volume of strikes, amount of damage that Max Holloway was basically putting on Calvin Kattar. He was chopping him to the legs, he was chopping him to the body, he was chopping him to the head, hitting him with strikes all throughout Calvin Kattar's body, and Calvin Kattar basically being named the official human punching bag of the UFC for the rest of the year because of the beating, because of the damage that he was able to withstand against Max Blessed Holloway. Max just put on a sensational performance, and it is still the performance of the year so far for me, even though that fight took place in the very beginning of this year. But it was a great way to kick off UFC's first ever card on the ABC network, where everybody was able to watch it, whoever has cable. Yes, that was an absolute masterclass. We all thought that Max Holloway was going to fight Alexander Volkanovski for the title next, but no, he doesn't want to wait. He wants to stay active. He doesn't want to stand by on the sidelines for this fight between Alexander Volkanovski and Brian T. City Ortega to take place. This fight was prolonged because these two individuals were supposed to fight each other in Vegas about a month ago. They were supposed to fight on that same card that Francis Ngannou and Stipe Miocic 2 was supposed to happen on. They were supposed to serve as the co-main event, but Alexander Volkanovski and his team ended up being diagnosed with COVID-19, so that fight was scratched. UFC decided, why not put Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega as the new coaches on the new season, on the comeback of The Ultimate Fighter. So obviously, they had to do that whole entire show. They had to do the whole taping of it, which is going to take a couple of weeks or a couple of months. Then they got to air the show. That's going to take another couple of months. Then they got to announce the fight, and then they got to get the training camps together, which is also going to take another couple of months. So Max Holloway doesn't want to wait. He doesn't want to be sitting on the couch and getting fat, for crying out loud, waiting for this fight to happen. So just for the UFC's sake and for his sake, he's going to take another fight. He wants to make a little bit more money, put some money in his pocket, put some money on his son's bank account that he most likely has for his son, Rush Holloway. That way he can be able to get another fight under his belt this year, depending on when that fight between Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega is going to take place. It's most likely going to be in the fall. I don't think that fight is going to take place this summer. So he's going to be taking this against El Pantera, the Tiger, the Panther. It's been such a long time since we've seen Yair Rodriguez come back. He hasn't fought. The last time he fought was in October of 2019. He hasn't fought in this year. He didn't even fight during the pandemic or in 2020. The last time he fought was in October of 2019, which was a rematch against Jeremy Stephens. The first time they fought, it was ended in the first round because of an eye poke that Yair committed on Jeremy Stephens, and Jeremy Stephens wasn't able to see out of that eye, and ended up being an absolute disgrace. It was a disaster of a main card, main event. It didn't have anything to do on Jeremy Stephens. The man can't see, a man can't see. As a result, Jeremy Stephens literally had to run for his life because these Mexican fans wanted to kill him. But they ended up running it back, and Yair was able to win it via unanimous decision. So it was a good fight. It was a back-and-forth affair, and Yair Rodriguez was able to hurt Jeremy Stephens to the body via body kick and basically outstrike him the whole entire time, even though Jeremy Stephens was able to get into the ground and win that third round. And if there's one thing about Max Holloway is that if he has another performance against Yair Rodriguez that he had against Calvin Kattar in the beginning of this year, then Yair Rodriguez does not stand a chance. Yair Rodriguez is 13-2 in his whole entire career, 14 fights. Max Holloway has more fights than Yair Rodriguez, for crying out loud. So it's just, holy smokes. I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it at all. And the reason why we haven't been able to see a Yair Rodriguez fight so far is because he had an USADA suspension. Obviously, it's harder for USADA to basically test these international athletes than it would be internationally testing these domestic fighters that are living in the United States of America. They tried testing Yair a number of times. They couldn't get a hold of them. They couldn't find him. So they had to force a suspension on him. I believe it was a 3 to 4 month suspension. Now Yair is back. Now he's going to be fighting Max Holloway. He has 7 finishes and his 13 wins. 4 by knockout / TKO and 3 by submission. He's a well-rounded mixed martial artist. He can submit you. He can knock you out. He can basically overwork you. But the thing we all know that Yair has a problem with is that he doesn't have the best gas tank out there. And when he absorbs damage, he tends to get slower. When he absorbs damage, he tends to get sloppier. We all saw this with his fight, with his war against the Korean Zombie. The only reason why the Korean Zombie lost that fight was because he got sloppy, and Yair was basically able to throw a Hail Mary in the form of an upward back elbow to knock the Zombie out in the very last second of that fight to get that victory. Will this happen against Max Holloway, who's most likely going to bombard him with 1,000,000 strikes in a fight? I don't think so. But this will be a striker's paradise of a matchup. 2 high-level strikers, 2 high-level mixed martial artists are going to be going at it. We finally get to see Yair Rodriguez back. He was supposed to fight Zabit Manosharipov many times, but the fight never materialized. In my opinion, this is the featherweight fight, basically the same fight as Tony versus Khabib, a Mexican versus a Russian, and this fight was made many times. That fight was made about 5 to 6 times and never happened. Another Mexican versus a Russian in the featherweight division. This fight was made multiple times and never materialized because it kept on getting canceled because of an injury, an illness, or the UFC having a lot of trouble trying to work out contracts. So that fight was never made. The UFC has officially taken Zabit Manosharipov out of the rankings. He was the original number 3 ranked featherweight in the world. They took him out of the rankings, and that bumped Yair from number 4 to number 3, which is why he's taking this matchup against number 1 ranked Max Holloway. This is Yair's best chance to getting a title shot. If he can beat Max Holloway in this next fight, he will be the next one to get the title shot after the winner of Volkanovski versus Ortega. So this is Yair's best chance. He's always wanted to fight for the title. He's always wanted to bring a belt back home to Mexico. Will he get the chance? Will he bring gold back to Mexico if he can get a title shot, and if he can win the title? But that won't be possible if he doesn't get past Max Blessed Holloway, the Blessed Express. And that is an express that will run you over at full force. Like I said, I believe that Yair is going to be able to compete with Max Holloway for the first 3 rounds, and then after that 3rd round, I believe that Yair is going to slow down. If I'm Yair Rodriguez, I'm looking at that film of Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar. I'm looking at all of Calvin Kattar's mistakes and trying to capitalize on that, and making sure that I'm not trying to be in front of Max Holloway the whole entire time. I want to keep moving with him. I want to keep my head movement at all times. I want to make sure that I'm moving my body. I want to make sure that I'm evading. I want to make sure that I'm countering Max Holloway's strikes. When Max Holloway was throwing all those barrage of punches, Calvin Kattar was able to counter him a number of times, and basically rock him with some shots, but they weren't hard enough shots to actually rock Max Holloway. Those would have been shots to put out a lot of other fighters in the past, but Max Holloway has a very, very solid chin. I don't think I've ever seen Max Holloway get knocked out in the UFC. I don't think anyone's ever seen Max Holloway get knocked out in his whole entire career. We have seen him be finished before in the past. He was submitted by Dustin Poirier, but that was a very, very long time ago, and he basically hasn't been finished ever since. Max Holloway is the real deal, but when you're throwing so much heat, when you're throwing so much volume, when you're using both of your hands, you're leaving your chin up in the open. You're leaving your chin exposed for a counter. If Yair Rodriguez can be able to find the perfect counter, if he can be able to throw up another Hail Mary, and whatever shape, way, or form it's going to be in, it's got to be in this fight because it's going to be the most important fight of his whole entire career. If I'm Yair, I'm also trying to take this fight to the ground because I do believe he has the better advantage on the ground with his jiu-jitsu against Max Holloway, but Max Holloway is also a force to be reckoned with on the ground. So if the fight does go to the ground, I do see a lot of rolling. I do see a good amount of reverses, and I do see Max Holloway trying to keep this fight on the ground for as long as he possibly can. I do see a angry Max Holloway coming into this fight because I do believe that Yair is going to talk some smack. He was talking a lot of smack going into that second fight against Jeremy Stephens, talking smack to a lot of the fans. I don't know if it was his agent that was doing it. I don't know if it was his PR that was doing it, but it wasn't the Yair Rodriguez that we were accustomed to. But Yair was talking a lot of trash, and Yair's learning a lot more English than he has in the past, meaning that he can understand a lot more people, a lot much better than he used to in the past, so he can be able to talk trash if he wants to. But if I'm him, I'm not trying to get Max Holloway angry. I'm not trying to get him upset. I'm not trying to get him irate, because if he does, and he's awakening a beast that he's never going to want to awaken ever again. Just ask Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar definitely lost a good amount of years off of his life, taking all that punishment to the head, to the body, to the legs, pretty much everywhere. If I'm Yair Rodriguez, like I said, movement is going to be key, and countering is also going to be key as well. And if you get a chance, try to feint as much as possible so you can make sure that Max Holloway is going to commit the mistakes, and try to get a takedown, whether there's going to be a single leg, a double leg, an Imanara roll, or you're going to try to get a body lock against the fence and try to trip him that way. If I'm Max Holloway, I'm just going to go off of what I did during my last fight, throw as much heat and volume as possible, and then if Yair is going to try to go to you to the ground, go to the ground with him, but make sure you try to get a reverse. If he's going to try to take you down, get the wizard in there and try to reverse him and try to get him down to the ground, because we've seen Max Holloway submit plenty of guys in the past. The submission that I remember the most that he had was against Cub Swanson. He was winning the majority of that fight, and then he was able to get Cub Swanson to the ground and submit him. Like I said, Max Holloway can finish you in any single type of way possible. He's one of the best in the whole entire world for a reason, and I believe it's going to be a very interesting fight. I believe we're going to see striking galore for the first 2 rounds. Yair is not going to believe that he will be able to finish Max Holloway, so he's going to want to try to take him down to the ground. I believe that Max is most likely going to try to get some sort of reverse position and then most likely finish the fight via ground and pound. I believe that Max Holloway is going to finish this fight. He's going to carry all that momentum that he had against Calvin Kattar to this fight against Yair Rodriguez, because this time he's not facing the number 6 guy. Calvin Kattar was the number 6 guy in the world when he fought Max Holloway. Now Max Holloway is going to be facing a higher ranked opponent in Yair Rodriguez, the number 3 guy. If Max Holloway wins this fight, then he has all the proof. Everything's going to be in the pudding of why he deserves that title shot next. And he'll also have the case that he's been more active than the champ, Alexander Volkanovski himself, who hasn't been very much active lately. So it's going to be a very, very important, a very vital fight for both of these featherweights, 2 of the best featherweights in the whole entire world, 2 of the best strikers in the featherweight division. This is going to be a absolute joy to watch. Like I said, this will be taking place at July 17th, a week after UFC 264, which is going to be headlined by McGregor versus Poirier 3, the trilogy, the end of that trilogy. I wish that fight could have been on this card. There's always a possibility that it can be on this card, but I believe that the UFC is going to be putting all their eggs in one basket in UFC 264, and they're going to basically be left out with not that much talent put on their other UFC Fight Night cards, so they're going to want to put at least one great fight on this UFC Fight Night after UFC 264, which is going to be the week after that mega main event. And on International Fight Week, which is basically the Super Bowl, it is the World Series. It's basically everything they can really think about of the UFC, the most important week of the UFC. This will be taking place the week after, and I believe it's going to be a great fight. It's going to be a very exciting fight. I believe it's a fight that we would all love to see. I really wanted to see Max Holloway fight Zabit. I hope Zabit doesn't retire. I hope Zabit rekindles that fire back. If he doesn't, then it's a shame, and it was a pleasure watching him because he was one of the most creative strikers I've ever seen in that UFC featherweight division. And when this fight does take place, I pray to the Lord Almighty that the UFC stacks this fight card to the absolute max, because you can't have a great main event like this and have an absolute trash card to support it. So I appreciate you guys for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoy that fight because it's going to be an exciting one. So obviously put your seatbelts on, get your popcorn ready, and embrace yourself for the crazy ride that this is going to be. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. You stay safe, stay blessed, and comment down there in the comment sections. I love the comments. Forget about the likes, forget about the subscriptions. I love the comments, man. The comments mean anything, means basically everything to me, because I love to get discussions in there with the rest of the MMA community. Later, guys.